In the state of Indiana, on a gray Tuesday morning in March, a boy named Daniel Cooper turned 18 years old inside a foster home he had lived in for 7 months. There was no cake. There was no party. His foster mother handed him a card with a $20 bill inside and said, "The system closes your case at the end of the month. You'll want to start thinking about next steps." Daniel nodded. He had been thinking about next steps his entire life. Daniel had entered foster care at age 4 when his mother, overwhelmed and alone, made the hardest decision of her life and surrendered him to the state. He had no memory of her face, only a single blurry photograph kept folded inside whatever book he was reading, of a young woman holding a small boy on her hip, squinting into the sun. The boy was laughing. The woman was looking at him the way people look at things they are afraid to lose. Over the next 14 years, Daniel passed through 11 foster homes across Indiana. Some were kind, some were not. He learned early that it was easier to be useful than to be loved, and that if you kept your room clean, your grades decent, and your voice quiet, you could move through almost any household without causing trouble. He was also, though few people noticed, extraordinarily good at reading. Books were the one thing that moved with him from home to home. At 12, a school librarian named Mr. Okafor began quietly leaving books on Daniel's usual table, ones he thought Daniel might not find on his own. He never made a production of it. Daniel read every single one. When Mrs. Briggs handed Daniel that birthday card, he had already arranged more of his future than she knew. A university place in September, a warehouse job starting in April, a list of every resource available to former foster youth in Indiana, researched and memorized. He moved out on March 31st with the same duffel bag he had carried in 7 months earlier. The years that followed were not easy, but they were his. Daniel worked through university, graduated in social work, and took a job helping youth age out of the foster system in Indianapolis. He knew that world from the inside in a way no textbook could teach. At 26, he bought his first apartment. He stood in the empty living room and thought about every room he had slept in that had never belonged to him. This one did. He sat on the floor, ate a sandwich, and felt something close to peace. He never stopped thinking about the photograph. He tried twice in his 20s to find his mother through official channels. Both times led nowhere. He told himself he had made peace with not knowing. Some days he almost believed it. Then, on a Wednesday morning in November, when Daniel was 35, his phone rang. The woman introduced herself as a caseworker from a private family search registry. Daniel had registered when he was 22 and largely forgotten about it. "We have a match," she said quietly. "Your biological mother registered 8 months ago. Her name is Patricia. She asked me to tell you one thing before you decide whether to make contact." A pause. "She said to tell you she never stopped." "That's all. She never stopped." Daniel sat very still. "Can I have her number?" he said. He did not call right away. He sat with the number for 3 days, taking it out and looking at it carefully, the way he had always looked at that photograph, from a slight distance, as though getting too close too fast might make it disappear. On the 4th day he called. Patricia answered on the 2nd ring. Her voice was softer than he had imagined, and when she heard him say hello, she went quiet for a moment before she said his name, the way people say words they have been saving for a very long time. They talked for 2 hours. She told him things he had never known, that she had named him after her grandfather, a quiet man who loved books, that she had kept the same photograph on her bedside table for 31 years, that she had driven past schools in the county when he would have been school age, not to interfere, just to feel near him somehow. When she finished, Daniel told her about Mr. Okafor and the books on the library table, about the duffel bag and the 11 homes, about the empty apartment and the sandwich on the floor. Patricia cried. Daniel waited until after the call to do the same. They met 6 weeks later at a small diner halfway between their towns. Daniel arrived first and sat facing the door. When Patricia walked in, he recognized her immediately, the same way you recognize a place from a description you have carried for a long time. Not because it is exactly as you imagined, but because it is undeniably real. She stopped when she saw him. They looked at each other across the diner for a moment that lasted both a second and 31 years.